Oh yes, here we go. Through another week. It's a Friday morning here on the Spice Isle. Let's see here, the 12th day of April, 2019. Good morning, my dear friends. I'm George Grant, and welcome to today's edition of Gudday Grenada. Hey, pilgrims, yeah. Another beautiful morning here. Just took a look out there on the balcony. Blazing sunshine. It's going to be a good one. Hope the weekend holds up too. And I'm sure that some of you have already been thinking about the fact that just down the road, hurricane season. Don't wait until it gets here to start preparing. Things are so unpredictable these days, you just never know. Anyway, let's take a look at the rundown, see what we're going to get into over the next hour. More changes at Cricket West Indies. Yum one. Yeah, you're about to find out about that. And something interesting you're going to find out this morning as well is how the Grenada Revolution impacted the Grenadines. Eh? Yeah. A friend of mine by the name of Ian Roberts sent me a few slides and a short video about some work that's been done by Grenadians in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Very interesting piece. We'll tell you about that in just a wee bit. Let's see here. We also have the National Report coming your way. And this being a Friday morning, I spoke with him just a few minutes ago. He's not going to be in here, but he's going to be talking with us. Our techno-peasant, if you will, Mr. Brian Pitt. He's going to be talking with us through Zoom this morning, okay? But right now, at 2 minutes after the hour, let's get down to brass tacks. West Indies, or the Windies, now have a new head coach. West Indies interim head coach Richard Pybus has left after only 3 months in charge. The 54-year-old, who was appointed back in January, oversaw the West Indies 2-1 Test Series victory over England back in February and was due to lead them at the World Cup in England and Wales. Former West Indies batsman Floyd Reefer, who's only 46 years old, takes over as the interim coach for the World Cup starting on May 30th. Reefer, who has played 6 test matches between 1997 and 2009, was appointed following a Cricket West Indies board meeting on Tuesday. He says he wants to help to restore pride in our fans here in the Caribbean and around the world, and that we're here to win, not just compete. Good attitude, sir. The board said that Reefer's appointment was part of a plan to increase the utilization of regional technical expertise and build international experience for Caribbean coaches. West Indies start their World Cup campaign against Pakistan at Trent Bridge on May 31st. Little background here. Ricky Skerritt replaced Dave Cameron as CWI's president following a vote just a little over a week ago. Cameron was criticized over his appointment of Pybus in January, with former captain Darren Sammy saying that Mr. Pybus made a mess in his previous role as the director of cricket. West Indies Test Series win was their first over England since 2009. They drew the one-day series 2-2 and lost the 2020 series 3-0. Yep. You win some, you lose some. Let's see here. Before I move into our next little segment, let me say good morning. I'm always anxious to see you guys. John is saying good morning, George and the world. Where's Margaret? There she is down below, John. By the way, John, it's so good to see. John is the first person on Facebook this morning. That's because we hit him real hard last night. John was late yesterday morning for this program. He was late last night. So he's been up since 5 o'clock this morning, putting on his makeup and everything, getting ready for the program this morning. Ryan Jabon says, "Good day, GG. Give God thanks. Lost electricity. Back on at 11 a.m. No electricity, Ryan? Then how come you're with us? Magic? Good to see you anyway, sir." Fitzroy Adams is watching from a cloudy Brooklyn on this Friday morning. Peter Bishop's back in Long Island. Sharon, hello, Sharon, saying good morning. Margaret Francis is wishing you a happy Friday. Yeah, Mags. Mags, see, you were missed because you weren't as early this morning as John was. Well, boy, we had a good time last night, didn't we? Huh? I tell you, you guys reached thousands of people last night with that edition of McWe Chat. Bernard Gilbert saying good morning. Nesta is saying good morning, George and all. Happy Friday and a great weekend ahead, and sending us God's blessings. Thank you, Nesta. Just sent you a little note, by the way. Dennis Clark says, "West Indies cricket management continues to baffle me." Hey, Dennis, at least, give them some time. We have to continue being optimistic. Hey, we saw some good signs a couple of months ago. Hey, maybe they just might continue. And Veronica Sandy is saying good morning, everybody, and sending us blessings on this Friday. It's nice to see you folks. Now, the Ashton, make sure I have that ready here. Yeah, the Ashton Lagoon Restoration Project in the Grenadines was needed because of a failed marina project which was undertaken by foreign investors in the early 90s. Now Ashton is in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Susgren, S-U-S-G-R-E-N, is a transboundary NGO which manages, implements, and undertakes environmental protection and climate change-related issues and projects throughout the Grenadines of both Grenada and St. Vincent. Restoring Ashton Lagoon was their flagship project. Susgren itself has a managing director, Orisha Joseph, who is Grenadian, while the previous director, Martin Barreto, was also from here. When Susgren began the project you're about to see in May of 2018, they had a deadline of September 30th, 2018. It was obvious that it would be a daunting task, and only a special team could pull it off. The project required that two 115-foot gaps be opened in the lagoon. The gaps closed off the ocean from the lagoon, preventing free circulation of water and ease of marine traffic for 25 years. In addition to the breaching of the gaps, two pedestrian bridges had to be constructed over the new operation and be completed by the September 30th deadline as well. Let's start taking a look at some slides. Although with the gaps and bridge, along with the gaps and bridge, a half-mile eco trail had to be prepared as well, which meanders through the largest mangrove forests in SVG. And this had to be done without damaging the bird habitat or the stock of mangrove. Along the eco trail, two double-deck wildlife viewing towers will be constructed so that the scenery can be enjoyed. All of the above, under normal circumstances, should have required twice the allotted time. Twice the allotted time. However, There was a prevailing spirit of confidence that felt familiar, so says Ian. One of the legacies of the Grenada Revolution was that in just 4 years, many concurrent projects were undertaken and completed with blinding speed. During that time, Grenadians experienced the pride of accomplishment and, not only that, belief that we could do great things. It was that familiar attitude which prompted this project to be completed on time by the team of forefront workers who traveled from Grenada. Many people on Union Island felt that this was going to be an impossible project, but with daily late shifts, 7-day work weeks, and late night lights, doubt soon changed to solidarity. The talk on the island was that the Grenadians brought the spirit of the revolution with them, because nothing like this had ever happened there until now. Ian says he felt immense pride for this project, knowing that he is a product of the revolution and that they made such a meaningful contribution. The project, by the way, will be opened officially on May 31st. Having said that, I want to show you some video right now. Just take a look at the colors in this video. For those of you who have never made it to the Grenadines, make sure, if there's one thing you've got to do in your life before you move on, is pay a visit up there. This is a boat ride through the Grenadines. Now take a look at this. Take a look at the waters. Now you can understand. I haven't been for a couple of years, but now you can understand why I'm such a fanatic about the Grenadines. Let's just watch.
And that's the bridge that we built. And see that sailboat out there with the sails and thing? Yeah. Yeah.
Nice, eh?
Let's stay in the middle. In the middle, what are the sides? Once in here, you're okay.
Look at that water.
And that's it. And then yeah, man. Here is shallow, so just go out there and you go straight on. So that's where we were coming in the last.
pristine water. Now look at that. Ain't that beautiful? I have to admit, I have not been to that particular site, but the first opportunity I get, Georgie going. Thank you very much, Ian. I do appreciate that. Let's get back here to Facebook this morning. Dennis Clark says West Indian cricket continues to baffle him. Veronica Sandy is saying good morning. Anthony DeRiggs says, good morning, George. My words for today. Lord, protect us from evil today and tomorrow too, and every day henceforth. I added the last little part. Carla Clement is blessing all of us this morning. Thank you, Carla. And let's see here. Peter Bishop, taking a look at that video, says, the things we take for granted. Veronica Sandy is saying, the Grenadines are beautiful. I went up a few years ago by boat. God bless you, girl. It is wonderful up there. Just marvelous, spectacular. It's like you're in another world. Sharon, hello, Sharon. She's saying absolutely beautiful. Sharon, so when are we going to put a team together and invite Mr. Brian Pitt to join us probably and go on up to the Grenadines, eh? Oh, boy. Beautiful stuff. Okay, folks. 17 minutes after the hour. Time zipping right along here this morning. Let's take a quick break here, and we'll come back with the national report.
Boy, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up.
I'm coming. Karim, what you doing?
Fly my kite.
Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy.
Why not? The wind good.
Because mommy say kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. He's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, it can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let's go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kite threads conduct electricity. Do not fly kites near overhead power lines. This can lead to electric shocks and power outages. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, do not try to retrieve it. Release it and call GRENLEC. Always fly kites in open areas. Keep your kites far away from roads. And remember, always clean up after yourself.
GRENLEC, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Start the stride to a healthy lifestyle at the 2019 annual Pump It Up Family Fun Walk. There'll be more fun, more smiles, and more prizes for families and friends. Join us in Carriacou on April 7th at 4 p.m. as we walk from the Harveyvale playing field to the Hillsborough tennis courts, and in Grenada on April 28th at 4 p.m. from the Montrouge playing field to the National Cricket Stadium. Packages cost $20 per person for up to 2 individuals and $15 per person for groups of 3 or more. Come out in your numbers to help us raise funds towards re-establishing the Carlton Home.
Glenna Knight says, simply exquisite. Boy, couldn't think of a better word, Glenna. Thank you so much. Lydia James is now chiming in. Pilgrims, let's get to today's edition of the National Report.
Grenada moves another step towards stamping out prettier larceny. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Thursday, April 11th, I am Sherry Noel. The Ministry of Agriculture is working with the Predial Larceny Task Force of the RGPF to tackle head-on the problem of predial larceny. They have demonstrated the use of a valuable piece of equipment that they hope will aid in the timely capture of those involved in theft of agricultural produce. Corporal 397 Sam, officer in charge of the Predial Larceny Department at the Central Division of the Royal Grenada Police Force, says there is a need to step up surveillance to bring the problem under control.
We are here to demonstrate a piece of equipment that both the ministry and a private enterprise are now involved in. Basically, right, this piece of equipment would be used both in the detection, the deterrent of persons wanting to steal. Right, we are now experiencing a very high demand for soursop, and soursop is one of the major problems that we are now experiencing. With that piece of equipment, that would assist us tremendously.
Apart from soursop, a variety of root crops are also stolen from farmers who are fully in support of any method that will help reduce the losses they face as a result of theft.
The demand now for Tanya, and we have now seen a rise in bees, especially them hives, the stealing of the hives from the bee farmers.
So that bit of equipment that you're speaking of, is it one that will be introduced to other farmers on the property in order to help curb the problem?
Yes, definitely. That is why we are always here to try it and see whether or not it's going to be working. And after this, it's going to be introduced to the different farmers within the state. Yeah, it's very much, the price of it is very much cheap, so at the end of the day, the farmers, it will be cushioned enough so that they can purchase it.
Chief Extension Officer in the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Randolph Shares, says the challenges and problems now faced with predial larceny call for all hands on deck.
We describe some areas as hot spots, where you have some areas that are frequently affected by thieves, right? I may not want to name some of these areas, but there are some areas that we are focusing on, well, the RGPF is focusing on. And although we have the task force from the RGPF, we have farmer registration, a number of systems in place, you still cannot solve all the problems with predial larceny. But we believe now with the use of that device, we can reduce the problem significantly.
In Grenada, Mr. Shares says there are approximately 9,000 active farmers.
To date, we have registered just a little over just around 7,000 farmers. I cannot give you the exact figure, but it's around 7,000. So farmers are coming forward and register. But what is important to note is that almost all of the hotels, well, all the hotels and the supermarkets, whenever farmers come to sell them stuff, they ask them for the ID, the farmer's registration. And that is a good initiative. That's a good step that the hotels and the supermarkets, restaurants and so on have taken, to ensure that they buy from authentic persons and they don't buy from thieves.
Farmers who are interested in purchasing the equipment and installing it on their farms can do so through the various district offices of the Ministry of Agriculture. Government is placing greater focus on project implementation to ensure it meets the time frame and budgetary preparations. During an interview with the Government Information Service, Minister for Infrastructure Development, Honorable Gregory Boeing, said this will ensure greater efficiency in the operations across the board.
What we have done, we have restructured the implementation unit. Previously, for every project that we have, there is a little unit in silos here and there. And we have changed this into an implementation division in a ministry that could look at implementation throughout the government. And this is of critical importance because the World Bank on the last mission, they were very pleased with the way we were doing things. Unknowing to us that these small projects, implementation units that they started in many of the islands, they were not performing too well. And if you only want to do the implemented projects that the World Bank or the donors will have financed, what happened to your internal projects? Then they suffer. But now we're looking at implementation across the board, in health, in education, in our ministry, in the Ministry of Finance, all areas. This will mean that things will be flowing smoothly on time.
Minister Bowen also spoke to the progress of government since being re-elected following the March 13 general elections last year.
I would say that we are well on our way on the trajectory to perform as we indicated to the public and to the international community. We are maintaining our growth pattern. We're on our debt to GDP trajectory. You know that we're trying to get to 55% by 2020, although we have a few more years to do so before we would have violated any of the contractual agreements that we've had. We're looking now at our public sector investment program, our energy efficiency, savings, and primarily we are targeting that reduction in the unemployment. It is a big task, but that's one of the things that we have on our program to do.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
The eyes of the world are on us more than ever. So let's take it to them. Saturday, May 4th, the Spice Mass Corporation launches Spice Mass 2019. The Caribbean's biggest summer festival. This year's launch starts with a roadshow from Ariza Copper to the National Stadium from 3 p.m. Bring out your last year's costume and join the parade. It's one big experience with a display of fancy mask, traditional mask, Moko Jumbi, and the most envied Jab Jab. The official opening is at the National Stadium, featuring your favorite soca artists and DJs, Calypso Monarch, Steel Pan Champions, and presentations of the 2019 Carnival Queen contestants, plus displays of 2019 costumes, SMC show tickets, and other attractions to be won. Saturday, May 4th, the National Stadium, the launch of Spice Mass 2019. Bring out the entire family. Log on to spicemassgrenada.com for more.
Welcome back. The Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism, CRFM, and CCRIF, SPC, have signed a Memorandum of Understanding to develop climate-resilient fisheries and aquaculture industries in the region. The purpose of the MOU is to formalize collaboration among the Caribbean Oceans and Aquaculture Sustainability Facility Coast initiative, which will help to reduce the risk that climate change poses to food security and nutrition and to mitigate climate change impacts on sustainable food production as it relates to the fisheries sector. Specifically, the MOU will facilitate the finalization of a sovereign insurance coast product for the fisheries and aquaculture sectors in the Caribbean. It will also support the rollout of the coast product, including communication to improve awareness and understanding among stakeholders, and training for government officials and professionals in the fisheries and aquaculture sectors. Another major benefit is the promotion of climate-resilient fishing, fish farming, and resource management practices among CRFM member states. Grenada is being used as a medium for the promotion of peace. The Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light, HWPL, has made a donation of its book to the Grenada National Museum entitled The True Story of Heavenly Culture, World Peace Restoration of Light. The non-profit organization was represented by Mr. Daniel, who gave insights about the documentation of the book, which focuses on resolving conflict.
So what brings us here is we're an international peace organization. We work on education and international law. So on two different sides, we're trying to not only promote peace, but to educate people on the importance of peace and how we really have to tie our hands together to really work hard for peace. So this book that we're documenting here is just a book that really shows the culture of peace and how much peace has started to progress, not only here in Grenada and in the Caribbean, but globally as well.
The book is available and on display at the Grenada National Museum. Mr. Marlon Gittins of the Grenada National Museum expressed his gratitude to the HWPL for approving the book to be used in Grenada for the continuous promotion of peace.
On behalf of the Grenada National Museum, I'd like to thank you guys for coming and for allowing the book to be displayed in the National Museum.
The HWPL will return to Grenada soon. And that's the National Report for Thursday, April 11th. I am Sherry Noel.
Alrighty, folks, that's going to take care of your national report. We're going to get to Brian in just a wee bit, but I want to get back here to that little piece we did about the Ashton Lagoon and the Grenadines. There's a note here from John out there in Carriacou. John says, in the 1990s, a failed marina development in Ashton Lagoon caused significant ecological and socio-economic impacts, with both long and short-term consequences for the community of Ashton. And Tyrrell Bay in Carriacou is showing the same signs. We'll get to Mr. Pinky Pitt. Pinky Pitt? You'll find out why I said Pinky Pitt in just a wee bit. Hang in there.
General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company. Tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Conveniently located in the Grenadines Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenadines will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy.
We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow.
With you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us as we energize our Spice Isle.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Good morning, Pinky.
The name is Brian George. There's an old saying, I didn't come up with this statement, George, that only real men wear pink proudly.
I thought you were parading for the Cancer Society or something like that. Anyway, good morning.
Yes, that could be that. We can bring that into play, George.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Pitt. Thank you very much.
Morning.
Nice to
Good
see
morning,
you, sir.
George.
Where do you begin this morning? Let me make myself comfortable here.
No, I was just listening to the national report. I think it's called, George, and my mind went back to last week Friday and the sports in the park.
Yes, sir.
I will quote Beverly, the soccer sports.
Okay.
And could you imagine? I'm going to ask you this question, George. You're a young athlete, and you've just finished a grueling event that you won. And a female reporter comes up to you, put a microphone to your mouth, and asks you this question. Aren't you glad for the opportunity to showcase your talent? What would you think?
Brian, you know, I wasn't going to bring up any of this stuff, but I'm glad that you did, because I listened to the post-games coverage, and I was amazed at some of the questions that were being asked. And, you know, no sympathy whatsoever. Like you said, somebody's just finished a race, you're huffing and puffing and panting, and then you're asked a question like, I don't know.
George, that was sickening to the point where the intent of the question is to say, aren't you glad that the minister persisted in putting on this event so you can showcase your talent? A further dagger in the hearts of those people who were the teachers and principals. Let's put it that way, let's be blunt. And it's unfortunate that we have to be so dirty. And it's unfortunate that we have to use our children for political ends. And mind you, George, this particular female reporter was the president of the Grenada Media Association at some point in time. She is. Oh my goodness. You know, they put our hands up, George. A one-party state. You know, at some point in time, we're going to have to define the difference between a dictatorship and a one-party state. Huh?
I don't know if you saw the programs we did earlier on this week, but the same point that you're bringing up here now was brought up. There were people who were questioning the coverage, which appeared to be very leading. The questions were very leading to get the athletes to respond in a certain way. And here's a note from John. He says, questions asked with an agenda.
Yes, and you know, George, I wasn't at the stadium, but one thing we forget, and I was walking through Tantine on Friday, and the activities taking place around Tantine told me that the thing was not well attended. Because some of the people that go to Intercol on that last day are alumni, past pupils of the secondary schools who go there to compare notes and say, remember when I beat you in this race 10 years ago, da-da-da-da. But they were having their own little social occasion in Tantine. So it may have been successful in terms of you putting on an event that the principals and teachers did not have any part of, but you failed. You failed big time.
I'm glad you brought this up too, because I watched the GBN newscast the night of the games, and I was very, very surprised to hear them say, I don't remember if the exact word was dismal, but they were suggesting that the event was a flop. Okay?
Past pupils are important in these events, George.
And I found it so interesting. I wasn't there, but I found it so interesting because I was speaking to somebody I had in here for another program, and he said, I said to him, you know, that GBN said that this program was, you know, they were disappointed. And he said, why? They had a huge crowd. So I don't know who to believe.
Well, some of us use words conveniently. John.
Hello, Brian. Uh-oh. Oh, Brian is frozen.
I want to. It's frozen.
Okay, you're back now. You're back now. Yes, but
Okay.
I guess we're going in the wrong direction with a topic.
I want to quote you a headline from a newspaper article last weekend, George. It said demystifying the CBI program, and this interview is attributed to a young lady who is a Caribbean real estate investment strategist, and she was trying to make the point that local entrepreneurs and developers can take advantage of the CBI program. There is an arm in this program where we can I guess get money from the project to go into real estate projects. And she was suggesting that one successful such project was an apartment building down at SGU or the True Blue area. I don't know how many more apartments we can build down there, but that would be left to time. And George, she also mentioned another successful project that was undertaken under the CBI program. And she says, and this reporter is quoting her, a legacy project owned by a person who is the wife of a minister of government, whom I believe, when I last checked, was an agent for the CBI program. Now, when I saw this in the newspaper, I'm saying to myself, wait now, we have no scruples anymore?
No.
You know, and that irks me, George. And I reflected in my mind, well, wait now, hold on. Real estate development, that is less than 1% of this population that can take advantage of the situation. Less than 1% who may have the resources to take advantage of the real estate opportunities under the CBI program. George, where's the Integrity Commission?
The what?
Integrity Commission.
A little louder, I didn't hear you.
George, it brings me to a point where I want to spend a couple of minutes this morning. The importance of statistics. You know, our Prime Minister, I believe, is a statistician.
Yes.
So he should recognize the importance of statistics are very important in our decision-making process.
Yes.
And I want to use an example of the importance of statistics. This scandal that unfolded in the United States recently, where celebrities were paying for their children to get into Ivy League schools. I think that has been in the news, George. I don't know if you can follow. And somebody pulled up some statistics that told this story. That your parents, how much money your parents own, if you are a member or part of a family of an alumni, the least important qualification to get into an Ivy League school in the United States was education. And, you know, the statistics are telling us this story. So what the Americans are saying, hey, we got to pay attention to this thing, you know, because it's leading us in the wrong direction. It is further widening the gap between rich and poor. It is giving less opportunities to those people in the bottom part of the society to enter schools and get a proper education. So we got to pay attention to this thing. Those statistics told us that story. And I believe there's a direction now that people are moving towards making decisions that will correct that situation. Hey, George? Some time ago, I mentioned the fact that real estate in Grenada seemed to be, properties seem to be selling to foreigners. And I believe a member of the real estate industry took me to task, didn't call by name, but said that that was not true. Now, why did I say that? In Grenada, I think most real estate companies list the price of properties in US dollars.
Yes.
Are we earning US dollars in Grenada?
No.
Good. And George, I tried very hard. Oh, by the way, the IMF report and most of the reports in the last, since we've been under this IMF program, suggested a concern for delinquencies in the banking sector. I'm trying to add one and one to it. You advertise in US dollars, The IMF is telling us that they are concerned about delinquencies in the banking sector, which means that locals are having problems meeting their mortgages. To me, I could be wrong. So I listened to this representative and I said to myself, okay, Brian, maybe she's right. So why don't I try and find some information, some statistical information that will tell me the story that she's right and I'm wrong? I couldn't find anything, George. I phoned the statistical departments and they told me, well, it's an important information, but we don't have it. Maybe you might have to go to the registry. So there's no one place that you can go to gather this information. So I had to conclude to myself, okay, well, maybe the real estate industry is collecting this information because we need this information if we got to control how properties are sold. And I tell you why I say that. Let's just suppose most of us cannot buy land in the St. George's area because of the US price and how high it is. What's left to us to own a home? We probably have to go to St. David's, and that I think is all gone because that has become prime property also. Maybe St. Andrews and St. Patrick's for us to get a piece of land to own a home. If we want to go to St. Andrews and St. Patrick's to buy a piece of land to own a home, George, that means we're buying agricultural land. Repeat that. We're going to be buying agriculture land. So we are depleting agricultural land for housing. So we have to study these statistics very carefully, George, if we have to put policies in place that will not only direct who buys land and how much taxes they pay as a foreigner, maybe it might be a way to consume more money, or how do we accommodate young people owning some property and owning a home and at the same time sustaining a good agriculture base. Am I making sense, George? That is what statistics can do, George. And, you know, it is almost overbearing that we don't have this information for the past 10 or 50 or 20 years so that we can make good decisions as we go forward, George. And you know, I wish that somebody will put together those kinds of statistics that will lead us or move us in the right direction in terms of providing for young people in this country.
There's a comment here from you, for you from Margaret. Margaret says, Brian, I quite agree with your comment, re the listings in U.S. dollars. It may very well be that their target buyer is not local.
It might also very well be, and I thought of this, you know, that maybe the Grenadian diaspora, maybe they are trying to attract Grenadians living in major cities across the United States and Canada and Europe to buy properties. That could be a valid argument. But the statistics also tell us who or what is a Grenadian. Because don't forget that under the CBI program, you can be a Grenadian by just having some money. Do you qualify as an ordinary Grenadian or are you special? Hey, George?
Yeah, and I understand that there are some Grenadians who are really becoming involved in the CBI project, despite the fact that I heard one of our ministers saying not too long ago that he believes the CBI program is kaput.
I doubt very much if that's going to be true, George. You know, there are conflicts all over the world, and a lot of people are moving because of those conflicts. And not only refugees, poor people are trying to get out of these conflicts, but people who have money, that 1% in every country, trying to preserve their wealth and further the education to their children. So one family might have an application to the CBI program for 10 people or 12 people. So I don't believe it's going to die anytime soon. I think it's a good source of revenue. What we do with the revenue is important. And I hope we're not attracting anybody who might be running from the law, because that could put an end to the program really quickly.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about the fact that we have got the most stringent due diligence program in the region.
You know, George,
statistics.
Crooks are always one step ahead of the law. Crooks are one step ahead of the law. So you might think you have a clean system, and somebody might apply for a passport, and that person might have 10 different names, a name that's not in your system at all. And you can do anything with your fingerprints these days, George. I mean, the crooks have many ways of dealing with these issues. You know? So just saying that you have a clean system is not good enough. But I suspect that's going to be with us for a while.
Okay. Brian, John here says, due diligence? He's asking that question. Brian, I'm sure you have more to say, but I really want to squeeze this little piece in, and I think you gave me an opportune time. Hold on. Margaret says, you're also opening up a whole can of worms, redevelopment. Because if most development is concentrated in the South and people are being forced to live further away from the source of employment, then, in addition to the loss of agricultural lands, you need to think about transportation systems, etc.
Oh, yes. And a lot of other things, George. Margaret is absolutely right. This is why most countries have a planning department that looks at all these issues, George. How do we plan for the next 15, 20, 30 years? And the movement of people is important.
All right, let me get to my little piece now. Brian, I don't know if you remember, a few weeks ago, somebody we both know, a gentleman by the name of Randall Robinson, made an issue about the bank charges here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. He was concerned that, he went to his bank with a check from another bank and had to pay to put that in there. Okay? Now, Brian, let me tell you a personal story which has happened during the last 24 hours. Back in, I think, the 7th month, which was what, July of last year, I opened a small account. Well, you know, Georgie, you ain't have money. But I opened a small account. And it was for a not-for-profit organization, an NGO, non-governmental organization, not-for-profit organization, with a certain banking institution here. August, September, October, November, December went by, and of course, I got my monthly statements. Then I noticed that I never got my January statement. I got my February statement, but I never got my March statement. So yesterday, Georgie Porgy jumps on the telephone to the bank, and they promised that they would look into it and get back to me. Well, I'm happy to report, Brian, that just before going on air this morning, I received a phone call from the bank. Yes, they're going to send me my 2 statements, January and March. It's going to cost me $40 and change per statement, Brian. Per statement. So I have not received my statements. I'm not saying where the problem could be. The problem could be that, these statements could be automated. I don't know. And, the sort of postal system we have, maybe it went awry in the PO system. I don't know for sure where the problem was. But Brian, $40 and change per statement for a non-profit organization? Brian, what's going on?
George, I thought I was a techno person, but you obviously in that class. They want you to use the online banking system, George, and they will post that statement and you can download it and or print it. I believe that facility is a facility that they want you to use because they're trying to get out the hard copies. As a matter of fact, I heard the governor for the central bank not too recently or his representative talking about the e-money. We're moving towards e-money, or there's a trial system going on. And he went out of his way to say that banks are increasing a lot of fees because of the cost of doing business. The cost of doing business. Now, I don't know what the cost of doing business is. No, I remember not too long ago, George, there was a debate about whether or not fishermen selling fish at $8 a pound was justified. And the argument was, well, how do you know what it costs you to put this fish on the table to sell? Did you quantify, you know, your time, your gas, what you spend to go there, or you just say $8 is what people can afford to pay? What is the cost of doing business, and who decides what the cost of doing business are for the banking sector? Is that the regulator? Who decides that? And therein lies a problem. The banks have us where they want it. And by the way, that includes the government of Grenada, because the government of Grenada probably cannot have this conversation about fees with the banks at their monthly meetings because they have an overdraft running. So if they got a call and extend that overdraft at all, they have to talk to a friendly banker. George. You're a rock and a hard place, George.
You know, Brian, Margaret Francis says, online banking. Banks in the U.S. will also charge for requesting statements. Of course, Margaret. I have no difficulty with that. But, Margaret, my statement is usually 2 pages. At most. Sometimes 1, but let's say 2 pages. Margaret, $40? And it cost what? About 40 cents to put that in an... Let's assume you pay for the envelope. I know an envelope doesn't cost $1. Let's say $1. I know that it doesn't cost $1 per page, but let's say 2 pages, $2. That's $3 right there. 40 cents to put that in the mail. $3.40. Margaret, let's assume that it costs $10 to have somebody handle that mail out. Margaret, $50? Are you mad or what? And somebody here says John says they're forcing you to go to online banking. Listen, Brian, you mentioned that as well.
Yep.
Let me tell you something. One of the banks downtown told me to my face sometime last year. I was questioning the fact that you go into a bank, you have 8 wickets.
I want to.
Hey, that day, Brian, that day there were 3. That day, come on. Yeah, I got lucky, man. There were 3 tellers, okay?
Yeah.
8
Online
wickets. So I asked the staff, and he said to me, you know, Mr. Grant, we're trying to get the people to migrate to online banking. Brian, please, for God's sakes, please.
Yeah. They're not concerned about. They're not concerned about us who are slightly older, George. They're doing the transition because they know at some point in time we will all pass away, and that the younger people are very computer savvy, and they're the ones that are using online banking for almost everything. And right now they're using it on they can do everything on their phone, for crying out loud, George. So they're moving to facilitate these younger people, not us, George. We are unaware of, George.
Wow.
Just before I go, and I think we're running out of time, I listened to your program last week with Willie and Roland.
Yeah.
And this question occurred to me, and I wonder, George, if we have an opposition in Grenada, and if you can answer. I wonder if anybody knows what is costing the people of Grenada for the last 20 years in judgments against the government of Grenada. You know, and it irks me that some of this information is not available. Well, I imagine the government would not want it to be available. But that might be an interesting figure. George? George, let's end in the Grenadines and Carriacou. You know, I can testify for the beauty of the Grenadines and Carriacou. The Woodrofs own a property in Carriacou many moons ago called Bialo. You ever heard of Bialo? Bialo is a little house sitting on a rock facing the Petit Martinique, I believe it was. And God bless his soul, Olson, who had a catamaran. Yes.
Desrochers.
Desrochers. We used to use that little catamaran with our families, about 4, 5, 6 families. We rent that boat and go to Bialo on an Easter weekend, and it was the most beautiful Easter weekend of my life.
Yeah.
Every Easter we did that, and our kids grew up taking that trip and look forward to taking that trip.
Yeah.
Yes, George. You know, and Paradise Beach in Caracol, George, is probably one of the best beaches in the Caribbean.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what about just across from Paradise Beach, Sandy Island?
Oh, man, picturesque. People pay a lot of money to come here and look at those things, George.
Absolutely. Man, I used to hang out at that island a lot. I haven't gone up there in a couple of years now, but I'm so
And the island has recovered, you know. The island has recovered.
That's the point I was just about to make. The recovery has been remarkable. The people up there got together. They planted a lot of trees and so on. The island had actually been split in two, you know, at one time, right after Ivan.
Right.
But they've done a marvelous job bringing it back. Yeah.
George, have yourself a lovely weekend. And I hope it's not too hot for you.
Hold on a sec. Before you go, Brian, Laurie Bridgman says, George, I will have to think, is the amount you have in the bank in the millions? Great sense of humor, young lady. Margaret says, I do everything online. All bills, all banking, more than 75% of my shopping. Margaret, a lot of us are doing that. I do online banking as well, with the penny halfpenny that I have.
You know the beauty about online banking, George? If I write a check today, Friday the 12th, and I don't have sufficient money in my account, and that check might get into my account on Monday. If I use the ATM machine to make a deposit, that ATM machine deposit might not get to my account before the check gets to my account.
Yeah.
So in order to cover that, I have to go and stand in line in the bank to get that money in the account right away. I think the ATM deposit take about 24 hours to get onto your account.
Well,
so maybe online banking needs some updating.
Margaret is saying here, in fact, I prefer it. She's talking about online banking. She says it's available 24 hours, and I don't have to deal with rude, obnoxious customer service representatives. I'll tell you what I really like about online banking. Let's assume that you don't have a lot of people at the ATM, at the teller, okay? I have gone in there and done transactions that take 1 minute and 15 seconds, and I've timed it. 1 minute and 15 seconds, in and out. I really like that feature. Sometimes, depending on the time of the day and the place you go, you may have 4 or 5 people in front of you. Big deal. But the attitude of just having people stand in line and wait, it's like, jeez. And one would have thought that in this day of computerization, you get up to the teller, the transaction could be simple, whoop, whop, and you're done. Man,
let me give you a joke, George. Just before we go, I have my dear sister is older than me, and she has a little bank book, and she goes to the bank every week to update her bank book, and they've been trying to get her for years to get rid of this little bank book. And every time she goes to the bank, she says, teller just looks at her and laughs. Where's this little lady going with this bank book?
I haven't used one of those in years. Oh, Brian, thank you very much, my friend. You have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week by God's grace. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Okay.
Start the stride to a healthy lifestyle at the 2019 annual Pump It Up Family Fun Walk. There'll be more fun, more smiles, and more prizes for families and friends. Join us in Carriacou on April 7th at 4 p.m. as we walk from the Harveyvale playing field to the Hillsborough tennis courts. And in Grenada on April 28th at 4 p.m. from the Montrouge playing field to the National Cricket Stadium. Packages cost $20 per person for up to 2 individuals and $15 per person for groups of 3 or more. Come out in your numbers to help us raise funds towards re-establishing the Carlton home.
Welcome home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alrighty, folks, just about time. Yes. I apologize. We've gone a little bit over time. It's now 6 minutes after the hour. But we're going nowhere without our word of inspiration. Today comes to you from the book of Luke, Luke chapter 6, 27 to 31. But to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. If someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them. Give to everyone who asks you. And if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Luke chapter 6, verses 27 to 31. Pilgrims, join us on Sunday morning. We have a zinger coming your way. Next edition of Sundays with George Grant. Spread the word. We'll see you then. If not, see you on Monday morning for the next edition of Good Day, Grenada. Good Lord bless and keep you.